Thank you, Dr. Wan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. First of all, I would like to thank you to UKM GSB for this honor, inviting me to this session to share my experience, not so much experience anyway. For the last 20 plus years, I've been with corporate world. And most of them are basically GLC related, then it would be good to actually share some of the commercial aspect as well as the governance at the government level, the public, and how to actually move forward in terms of the companies, in terms of leadership, in terms of teamwork and so on. I would like to share, first of all, my journey. I'm a qualified accountant, a chartered accountant by profession. A fellow member of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountant United Kingdom, member of MIA, Malaysian Institute of Accountants. I was born in Kelantan, Pantai Seri Tujuh, Tumpak, Kelantan, very north to the border, actually very close to the border. If you don't be careful, if you're nearby the area, if you don't set your phone to roaming, then it will say to you that it will come to welcome to Thailand. So be careful, otherwise it will be charged on as roaming charges. And then my first primary school was in Pahang actually, Sekolah Kebangsaan Pancing, Kuantan, Pahang. Near Sungai Lembing. I think most of you know Sungai Lembing is one of the historical site for the mining underground, if I'm not mistaken. And then later I moved to Sekolah Kebangsaan Ketin Tumpat, very famous currently with people know for they call it ikan bekok ataupun the Budu factory and so on, the anchovy paste. And then I was lucky enough in 1981, I was offered to continue my secondary school in Maktab Rendah Sains Mara, Kota Baru in Pekalan Cepa. Our neighbor at the time is Sekolah Menengah Sains Pekalan Cepa, now known as Sekolah Menengah Tunku Faris Petra, our neighbor. My tertiary education, I did my A-level for 1 year from September 86 to June 87 at North East Wales Institute of Higher Education, one of the two colleges over there. One is in Wrexham, the other one is in Deeside. So mine was at the Deeside College. And then after that, after 1 year A-level, I continue with the Accountancy Foundation course and ACCA Level 2, internally assessed at the time it known as Newcastle upon Tyne Polytechnic, which is in Newcastle. Near to the border of the Scotland, and later on the institution currently known as Northumbria University at Newcastle. If you notice the bridge there in Newcastle, almost similar to the Sydney Bridge. It's actually the first built in Newcastle and then built in Sydney. Okay, the next, after completing the part of the level 2 in Newcastle, most of us actually who did ACCA or CIMA internally, they more or less went to London to continue at the private college. In my case, it's Emil Wolf College of Accountancy in London. At the time, it was in Holborn, near those colleges where people are attending law courses and so on. And then later on, I moved to Caledonian Road, very much close to the if I'm not mistaken, the Arsenal Stadium over there, Highbury, and also the old Arsenal Stadium. And then after completing the examination in December 91, I was admitted as associate member of ACCA in 1991, and later on in 1994, I was admitted as fellow member of ACCA and also chartered member of the MIA. The benefit of this has been widely discussed currently, especially by my PAC, the accountancy profession currently in Malaysia, promoting the student who obtain the degree in accounting, and especially in local university, to actually pursue further to gain the chartered accountant, either ACCA, CIMA, ICAEW, MICPA, or CPA Australia, and so on. The advantage is better in terms of leverage, in terms of the marketability of yourself in the corporate world. Okay, this is the old certificate that I managed to get under MIA and also the ACCA. Currently, they use the different logo instead of the emblem there. Okay, employment, I started working in 1992. Apparently, it's actually on 2nd May 1992. So I asked the employer at that time, why 2nd May? They said, oh, because 1st May is Labor Day. So my salary for that month is actually short by 1 day. So instead of getting the full salary, I get 1 day short. So memang it's a bit tricky at the time. So from 1992 to 1993, I was at Samdabi Berhad. Started as a management executive, posted at the headquarters, group accounts, finance, group taxation, group internal and management audit, group share registration, and then at the Malaysia Region Division at internal audit, and also industrial product division. At that time, this Samdabi was a smaller version than the current Samdabi. At that time, it's only Samdabi, and the competition within the PNB group later on become the merged version of Samdabi was Golden Hoop Plantation as well as Guthrie. So actually the Samdabi now is actually the combination of the three. Okay, next, during my employment with Samdabi Berhad, I was actually seconded to Tractors Malaysia Berhad for the Ford operation. At the time, the in thing among the youngs is actually the Ford TX3. I don't know whether some of you still remember. And the higher version is Ford Telstar TX5. This hot selling market at the time, I think in competition at the time with Honda Civic and also Nissan Sentra. In 1994, I was seconded to I was actually appointed as assistant. I was seconded to the MIB Berhad at financial accounting to actually assist the financial accounting department at the MIB Berhad. For your information, DMIB stand for Dunlop Malaysia Industry Berhad, which is established during the colonial days. And just imagine when we, the young people, joined the MIB at the time, we have to actually mix around and mingle around with the most experienced people. Some of them even joined during the colonial days. And then in 1994 also, I was lucky enough to be appointed by Samdabi Berhad to actually go to United Kingdom to assist the setting up of the finance and accounting function at LEC or LEC Refrigeration PLC at the time. Surprising, in 1994, the whole systems of accounting and bookkeeping still not computerized. So we went there to assist them with the computerized accounting system, as well as to show how the use of the costing, standard costing, and so on. So apparently, even though they are actually quite a developed country, but some of the companies over there actually lag behind. However, when I left Samdabi Berhad, I was made to understand that the investment actually is not that really profitable, so the company had to be sold off. I think we can look at the website there, www.samdabi.co.uk. Through sdll.asp, just for information. Later on, in 1994 to 1996, I was officially posted under employment of DMIB Berhad as assistant accountant in the cost and management accounting. I directly involved with the production cost, how to look at the production costing in terms of the production of the SIMEX tires. SIMEX actually stands for SIM Export Tires. This is meant for the big tires, like for the look at the size of the tire as compared to the car. This is not considered as big. Most of this type of vehicle actually heavily used in Australia, for example, the copper mining and so on. And then also the MIB also produced Dunlop tire for local usage, especially for the Proton cars, Produa, and so on. At that time, the MIB also produced in collaboration with Michelin, or actually the right pronunciation is actually Michelin, not Michelin, it's actually Michelin, to produce tire for aircraft. The MIB also produced at the time Sime Spring mattress instead of Dunlopillo at the time. Now they changed back to Dunlopillo. We also produced golf balls at the time in Senawang. Golf ball and Sime Spring, the mattress in Senawang factory. Those people that like play golf, we have Honma, Kimpa, and so on. Later on in 1997, I was posted to Sime Diamond Leasing Malaysia Sdn Bhd, a joint venture between Samdabi Berhad, Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi, and Diamond Lease Japan Limited. The company actually involved in the financing of equipment and so on for the small and medium-sized enterprise. Normally, the members of the SMEs come under the Equipment Leasing Association of Malaysia, or ILAM. Some people misconstrue this company as part of the Sime Bank. No, this is actually nothing to do with the Sime Bank when Samdabi had to take over UMBC those days. And later on in 1998, when the economy was in a turmoil, badly affected by the world economy downturn. However, the wish of the government at the time to still continue with the development of Putrajaya in the place called Perang Besar at the time, so changed to Putrajaya. I was actually entrusted to actually develop concession agreement because during the construction of Putrajaya from 1995, they couldn't manage to get the payment back from the government because the agreement has not been firmed up and signed. So after 1 year in 1999, the agreement has been signed. So my role is basically to actually establish the agreement with the government, including the development agreement, concession agreement, agency agreement. And I was also responsible for the fundraising of the bond issue at that time known as Al-Bank Bitaman Ajil ABA for the first phase. And for the second phase, I also involved with the fundraising also. From this time, then the development of Putrajaya was really very fast to make sure that all the government officers migrate from KL, and also the government officers that stay in KL also to stay in the quarters in Putrajaya. I was also involved with the monitoring of the joint venture between Putrajaya Holdings and at the time with the 4 major property developer, namely INO Property Development Berhad, started during the early Putrajaya construction was under the Kamunting Corporation, and then another JV was SP Setia Berhad, Hon Leong Properties Berhad, and Premba Malaysia Sdn Bhd. By virtue of monitoring of this company, I was appointed as company secretary for those companies as well. The function of company secretary actually to take over the function previously handled by Zurafi and Partners, and formerly known as Alba, Zulkifli and Yap. So imagine I have to learn from A to Z how to become company secretary. So whatever the company secretary manual, I have to get to know and so on. So it's a good experience also to be exposed with not just with the financial but also with the regulatory framework and so on. During my stay in Putrajaya also, if you recall when Tun Dr. Mahathir decided to step down in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, the government was thinking of how to actually give a token of appreciation to Yang Amat Berbahagia Tun at the time. So together with the Prime Minister's office, we decided to actually develop affordable homes for the constituency Kupang Pasu. One in Temin, one in Binjai, Paya Pahlawan, for local people over there. The house costing 52,000, if I'm not mistaken. The house costing 49,000 for them to buy, but the actual construction cost is actually 52,000. For every houses, actually actually 4 houses sit on 1 acre of land. So the construction from the land acquisition until the issuance of certificate of CF, less than 1 year. So this is for the benefit of the people up there as a token of appreciation to Tun M at the time. During my stay also, I was in Putrajaya Holding. I was also member of task force when the government decided, or rather Tun decided to develop a few of iconic building in Putrajaya, including PICC. The idea of PICC came about when Tun came back from a conference in Busan, Korea. So instead of having sports and recreation area at this particular location now, it was decided to build a PICC currently. And I was also involved with the construction of the equestrian park in Putrajaya by virtue of Tun M himself at the time, very keen on the horse riding and so on. So until now, this Putrajaya Convention Center as well as equestrian park. In 2004 until 2005, I was appointed as Group GM Business Development for KUB Malaysia Berhad. Then later on, concurrently, I was asked to head also a division known as Property Engineering and Construction, namely the KUB Development Berhad, Bina Alam Bersatu, KUB Realty, and also Pera Harta Sdn Bhd and Pebibah Sdn Bhd. The development, the iconic development was actually the construction of the building, the Bursa Malaysia now, and also the Perkeso or Sokso building in Kampung Baru currently. Another division I was entrusted to was actually manufacturing, plantation and consumer products. In terms of plantation, I was actually entrusted to manage one plantation, a joint venture with Sepadu in Sarawak under the KUB Sepadu, and the plantation in Kluang under KUB Agrotech. At the time, under manufacturing, under KUB Textile, we also involved at the time the production of uniform, school uniform under the brand Changgeh at the time. Okay. A very short stint only in KUB when in July 2005, when I was appointed by the Ministry of Finance to establish a company, special purpose vehicle, subsequent to the report by the Royal Commission to enhance the operation and the management of the Royal Police, Malaysian Police. At the time, we identified 73 projects with a gross development cost of more than 8.3 billion. The reason for this development of the police quarters is because at the time I think the police facilities was in the bad shape as compared to any other agency like for the our Angkatan Tentera and so on. So our role is basically to develop a very comfortable and conducive working and also living for the police at the time. The company known as Pembinaan BLT Sdn Bhd. BLT stands for Bill Lease and Transfer. The concept is similar to the Bill Lease and Transfer concept when I was in Putrajaya Holding earlier. So a few projects managed to be completed despite the fact that at the time the high cost of the construction materials like steel and so on, whereby some of them are actually double. Instead of, for example, 2,005 ringgit per ton of steel, it was actually at the time recorded 5,000 ringgit per ton, which actually give a bad impact to the small contractor and Bumi contractor at the time. And for your information, the whole project conducted or handled by Pembinaan BLT was actually managed by all the consultant, Bumi Putra consultant, as well as Bumi Putra contractors. For your information also, Pembinaan BLT got nothing to do with Pembinaan PFI that was widely discussed over the blog and so on. So this is the detail and some of the newspaper clips with regard to the project. Okay. In 2010 until 2019, I was appointed as Chief Executive Officer of Formema Sdn Bhd, formerly Khazanah Group of Companies and Pantai Holdings Companies, appointed by the government to manage the migrant workers health screening program in Malaysia, in Peninsular Malaysia. The company was actually awarded with the concession since 1997 for a 15-year concession and renewed in 2012 with the new expiry in 2023. So the function is basically to assist Ministry of Health in terms of health screening of the foreign workers, of which the result of the health screening will be used by the Immigration Department for the issuance of work permit. Unfortunately, there are a lot of the illegals that currently in the country, known as Pati, and their numbers are actually based on the certain unconfirmed report is actually much more in terms of numbers as compared to the legal. Every year, for Myanmar, normally based on the record, managed to actually screen about in the region of 1 million to about 1.3 million foreign workers. But the report always said that the illegals in the country are very much more than that. My role over there are basically not just to looking into the physical examination, the SOP and so on, but also to give the more conducive processes to the employers and so on. For example, the online registration, online payment and so on. So currently, before I left, the company has very much into a high investment in terms of IT and so on. Okay, this is some of the newspaper clips that I managed to compile. And of course, not to forget, whatever the profit gained from the operation, don't forget to pay zakat or tithe 2.5%. It so happened that at the time the shareholder was actually the late Tengku Arif Bendahara of Pahang. Then the zakat or the tithe is payable to the Majlis Ugama Islam Negeri Pahang at that time. Okay, so currently I'm the Group Managing Director of UKM Holdings Sdn Bhd, the commercial arm of UKM. So our target is basically to assist UKM to generate as much as possible profit to pay back to UKM by way of dividend. Unfortunately, for the whole of 2019, the whole program, the whole business plan actually has been subjected to COVID-19. The most affected is basically our Puri Pujangga Hotel with the closure for a few weeks until every time there is a PKP bersyarat or conditional MCMO, then Puri Pujangga always affected. And of course, other also affected with, for example, the UKM Kesihatan Sdn Bhd, the UKM Specialist Center was actually closed during the first phase of the COVID-19 when Hospital Chancellor Tuanku Mukhris has been subjected to COVID center at the early stage. We are trying to actually recover as much as possible. So it's actually a very challenging time currently for us to develop or rather to recover from this pandemic COVID-19. We are in the midst of develop the business plan for 2021, taking into account the possible continuous impact of COVID-19.